All right, well, today is August the 28th, 2023, and right now at 9:40 p.m., we have a temperature of 81 degrees here in the foothills of Los Angeles. The relative humidity is 43%. The dew point is 56 degrees, and the barometric pressure is sitting at 29.89. That's risen a bit. We were sitting at 29.83 here just an hour ago. All right, so we're looking at the National Hurricane Center map, and this storm here, this is a tropical storm, Adalia, I believe is how you pronounce it. This is scheduled to hit the west coast of Florida sometime on Wednesday. Could hit Tampa. We don't know where it's going to go, but it's always amazing that these storms that are scheduled to be a major storm, like a Category 3 or 4 or greater, always manage to hit right about the time of the full moon, which is tomorrow. The 29th is the full moon. So, of course, we have the highest tides. And if you're running into Tampa, you'll create a really disastrous situation where the Bay Area will rise substantially depending on the pressure of the storm. Right now, it's 983 millibar, which is not quite hurricane level. We see 70-mile-an-hour winds, and this is moving due north at 8 miles per hour. Now, Hurricane Franklin over here has a pressure of 926 millibar, which is very, very, that's powerful. That's a strong Category 4. And 926 millibar, if you convert that to PSI, that's 13.43 PSI. And, our atmospheric pressure at sea level is right around 14.7 PSI. So that's quite a difference there. And of course, that's what causes the wind in a hurricane is the low pressure versus the surrounding high pressure. And, talking about the Maui fires, I've reserved any comment on the Maui disaster. That was a planned and very well executed disaster, except for these people that pulled this off. They had no idea that people out here in TV land actually can think for themselves and put, connect the dots. There's no question at all that whole disaster was orchestrated, and everybody involved, including the Maui cops, the mayor of the town, Lahaina, and the governor. They should all be arrested immediately and held without bail, in my view. No question about it. All these people should be immediately arrested and held without bail, because there's just too many things going wrong, and it defies all logic and all reason. There's just absolutely no excuse for all of these things going wrong at the same time. And then you have the jerk-off guy in charge of the water, and listening to his poetry on some of these channels about how we have to save water, and he wouldn't release any water. This is absolute lunacy. And so once again, every one of these people should be held without bail until they start talking. Okay, and my blood is just boiling, because I can tell you right now, let's just divert for a minute and go and take a look here at at the pressure map on the day of. This is the pressure map for the Central Pacific on August 9th, 2023. And here we see the islands right at about 20 degrees north here. And we have Hurricane Dora, which is indicated here as a 972 millibar hurricane, moving from east to west, right along that 15 degree. And here we have a 1,033 millibar high pressure zone, which was sitting there. That's a differential pressure of 61 millibar right here. And you have the islands right here. So 61 millibar pressure gradient is a lot. And so that's what caused the 100-mile-an-hour winds blowing through Maui. I've seen the videos. Those are 100-mile-an-hour gusts. We get in December, January, February, we get the Santa Ana winds around here. And we get 80-mile-an-hour winds routinely sometimes, and occasionally we'll get some very strong gusts, which are even greater, and trees will go down and things like that. But these winds were very strong, and the way that this high pressure was situated in respect to this hurricane, which was about 700 miles south of the Big Island down here along 15 degrees north. The Big Island sits right at 20 degrees north, right here. Okay, so once again, if we take a look at the, this is KING in Hawaii, the weather department there, they showed the cartoon weather map here, and you can see that they had 2 highs indicated. All right, now as this one will disappear as this Hurricane Dora moves along with Category 4 status. It'll move along, and this one moves down according to their map. I'm just showing this because this is a matter of record. Let's go ahead and take a look here. So they've got 2 highs indicated, and as we zoom ahead here in the day or two ahead, we see the 2 highs, and then the other high disappears, and this one actually moves down. All right. So depending on where the high is placed around a hurricane, you can direct the wind direction. So in this situation, the wind would be blowing from east to west. If you move the high down here, you got a northwest pattern. All right, and if you put it over here, you've got a southerly wind blowing. That's how you do it, and that's how it's being done. This was orchestrated. There's no question about it, and everybody involved should be arrested and held without bail until we get to the bottom of this. Let's go ahead and take a look right now at this is a tropical storm, soon to be a Hurricane Adalia, and they've got this thing scheduled to move probably into Tampa Bay area. It could go anywhere up and down the Florida coast. We'll just have to wait and see what happens. But in this map, I'm going to turn the contrast down so we can see the rotation begin. All right, so this tropical storm is being targeted. And by the end of the loop, you see the pressure waves there and the icicle pattern right around the rim there. This is a huge mass of rising air. You can see that it is being targeted by either microwave or a satellite transmitter. And we see the pressure wave there, and then we start to see organized rotation right about here. Things start to spin. And so the way this works is when you hit a low pressure area on the outside, you can start rotation because you've got high pressure, strong high pressure down, a descending air mass, and it works kind of like a planetary gear set where if you target the low pressure air mass in a couple of different areas, and those are clockwise, you're basically jump starting a counterclockwise rotating air mass, much like you would when you spin some gears in a planetary gear set, where you have a center gear surrounded by 2 or 3 smaller gears that spin the opposite direction. So that's just an easy analogy that might help some people understand how this works. When you superheat air, the air will fall. It's descending high pressure air, and that will cause a downward, a spiraling vortex in a clockwise direction, and that the air mass friction from that will, cause vortices and different things to happen to get this thing to spin in a counterclockwise direction. And so that's what's happening here. And this is, like I say, this is going to hit the west coast of Florida sometime Wednesday. Look up here, we see some low pressure forming right here. Look at this up here. And that dissipates. You can see the condensation around that low pressure air mass right there. All right. So Hurricane Franklin is just on the heels of a Category 5. It's a very strong Category 4 system. All right. Now, getting back to what happened in Maui, things were so hot. Here's an article, What Caused the Deadly Hawaii Wildfires. This is a Yale Climate Connections.org article. I just pulled this up because it had a nice satellite shot of the pressure gradient there, that 61 millibar pressure gradient. If we convert that to PSI, let's just do that. 61 millibar, that's 0.88 PSI. That's a lot, and that's why we saw 100-mile-per-hour winds on Maui, on the west side of Maui. All right, and then we have the melting points of various alloys. You've got aluminum alloy, which melts at between 865 and 1240 degrees. A lot of these cars, the aluminum alloy rims were melted right off of the axles, and pools of aluminum, and that would take prolonged, very, very hot temperatures. And you know, if you know anything about welding and acetylene and oxygen, the way you get a flame really hot is you add oxygen to it. And so what's happening here is you've got 100-mile-an-hour winds delivering plenty of oxygenated air to the fire. It's just like blowing on a barbecue, a bunch of coals on a barbecue. You'll see when you do that, the coals will glow a lot hotter because there's more oxygen to burn. And so when you got 100-mile-an-hour winds blowing on burning cars and plastic and so forth, things get very hot, and you have that superheated air, which was traveling through that town of Lahaina for several blocks. You had prolonged, very, very hot temperatures. And so that makes sense why the rims would melt off of these cars. You know, aluminum can melt anywhere. An aluminum alloy will actually melt, has a lower melting point than just plain pure aluminum, 1220 degrees Fahrenheit for pure aluminum. But if you alloy it, 6061 or some other type of alloy, you can vary that melting point. You see here 865 to 1240 is a melting point there. But as far as directed energy weapons, I've been hearing a lot. People are talking about this all over the place. If the deep state or the Department of Defense is going to use those type of weapons, you can be assured that they're not going to want the public to see the beam coming down or going across. They're going to use an infrared, invisible beam. This is, it's just common sense. What happened here in Maui was the power lines caused this problem. And as you probably have already heard, BlackRock owns Hawaii Electric, a large portion of it, and they didn't maintain their power lines. That's sort of a trend that's going on. We've seen this in California in the Paradise Fire. Pacific Electric wasn't maintaining their lines. They're all being forced to go green and go into this solar and wind. None of that's going to last, folks. That is not going to last. Neither are the battery-powered cars. All this stuff is just not going to work in the long term. So, that's pretty much it. I just want to show the west, or rather the East Pacific. We see a dry low here. There's no condensation around that low pressure. And we have this system down here. This is a tropical storm right now. Let's go take a look at that. That's just going to fizzle out. That's going to move out towards Hawaii along the 20-degree north latitude. Tropical storm Irwin right there. Let me get this thing back up to the normal contrast. There we go. All right. So this is just going to fizzle out. They'll hit that and wipe that out. This, on the other hand, is what we got to watch out for. We're hearing all the warnings from the mainstream media. Let's take a look at the cone track right here. It's scheduled to hit probably Tampa or points north sometime Wednesday. We'll just keep an eye on this, and that's it. So just disgusted with what's happening in Maui. The cops, everybody's corrupt. Preventing water and food, blocking the roadways. I mean, this is new stuff, folks, and it's got to be stopped right now. So if you can donate a few bucks, go to the channel. There's a few channels. I'll put them in the comments section. But a real good one you want to keep an eye on is Hawaii Real Estate. That guy is spending day and night interviewing locals, and he's giving out, GoFundMe places that you can help these families. They've lost everything, and it's a mess. And there's a lot of criminal malfeasance and criminal negligence at the very least. And these people, like I said, they all need to be arrested immediately. No bail, and we got to start cracking down on these people. These cops. That's it. I'll do another video later.